some weeks now, states in Nigeria have been battling the floods. And they've been, people have been complaining. Over 600 persons have been killed. Over 2 million persons have been displaced. The latest flood disaster, which is the worst the country has faced in over a decade, has destroyed over 70,000 hectares of farmlands, as the growing concerns of food shortage also increases. Last week, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, suspended his campaign activities over the floods ravaging many parts of the country to enable him to empathize with the victims of the flood disaster in some states of the Federation. Obi also called on the candidates of other political parties to suspend their campaigns and join him to help the flood victims. The Labour Party presidential candidate has said that the federal government ought to have declared a national emergency on the natural disaster. Joining us on this show right now, this morning, as we discuss his visit to the affected areas of the latest flood disaster, is Mr. Peter Obi, presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Welcome to the morning show. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Ruben.
Again.
Thank you for having me. That's after a long time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
Except that we don't have a woman today. When they want to face me with these two tough men. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. Well, you called for suspension of campaign activities, and you provided the lead in that regard. And you visited some parts of the country, Anambra East, Anambra West. Okay, what has been your experience? And what do you say to the allegation by some of your critics that you have been given only, is it 24 or 12 loaves of bread? And that you have been stingy in providing support. Can you tell us how many loaves of bread that you provided and what your experience has been, on your tours?
Ruben, thank God we were able to laugh today. I can tell you what Nigeria is going today in terms of this flooding is far, far more devastating than it seems. For those of us who haven't experienced it. Ruben, I was part of the 2012 flooding. This is far more than 2012. You can even see it in death. In 2012, about 300 and something people died. And of course, the lands and everything that have been devastated, this is far worse. It's huge. The entire Bayelsa, for example, apart from maybe government house and a few facilities, is under the water. Similar situation in some parts of Delta, in some parts of rivers, in some parts, you can go on and on and on. Over 2,000 homes are under the water. And of course, millions of people are displaced and their IDP camps, and of course, children out of school is something you cannot imagine, and everything. So for me, I don't even think it's not just stopping campaign. What I saw is far more than I can imagine. In terms of donation or bread, providing bread, I've never provided any food, be it one bread to any distance. Whatever you must have seen is what people brought on their own to where I visited. What I've known is to ask those who are involved or areas where I've went, I've asked the state or anybody that is coordinating them to give me a bank account so I can help. But what I found in some of the IDP camps is that when I was going around and talking to the people who are there, they will tell you that they don't even have 1 naira. So what I've done immediately, I say, okay, how many people are here? And they will say there are 2,000 or 3,000, as the case may be. I can say, okay, why don't you give them this 2 million or 3 million, 5 million, so they can just share so that people can have, even if it's 1 naira. Some of them were begging me, sir, give us 100 naira. So we can also, because the government are struggling to feed them, but nobody is giving them even 1 naira. So I'm going to contribute. Ruben, I've been involved in this type of service far before I became governor. And you know yourself very well that in 2012, I came to Jonathan and said I was going to Haiti when they had earthquake, and he said, what are you going here to do? I said, that's what I've done all my life, that I and my family have been involved in such situations all over the world. While we were still talking, I told him, I showed him my sons, I said, I withdraw my son in school. We are going to Haiti. I went to Haiti. The ambassador then will tell you, police people there will tell you, that's us in Haiti. And my son that I withdrew from school. We were there for a week, and I was serving governor. So it's not just that today I started doing this. You must intervene. That is the purpose. In Nigeria, the situation is hopeless. If anything Nigeria is supposed to be doing now is dealing with this issue.
All right. And that's why the call for, season of campaign is germane at this point, and other candidates who, have responded, donated, and things.